Hey, it's Jess. Welcome back. Today I'm here with another Way Back Wednesday where I will be talking about all the books that I read in July of 2022. Looking at my Goodreads, I read a total of 13 books that month. 12 of them were new, one was a reread. The first book I read in July was the reread. I reread The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. This is book one in the Night Angel trilogy. Yes, it says on the book. Clearly a very well-loved book. My husband and I have both read these. This was the I think second time that I'd read it. I liked it, but I didn't keep reading it. Like I didn't read the other two of the trilogy. In this, you are following a boy named Azoth. He's a guild rat. He becomes an apprentice to Durzo Blint, who is a master assassin. And when he becomes an apprentice, he leaves his old life behind, changes his name to Kyler Stern, and does stuff. Does stuff. He struggles a lot with like balancing. He's left his old life behind, but this new life, he struggles a lot with. You can't really have friendships or relationships with people, and as an assassin, you can't have those things, but he's supposed to be like a nobleman. No one knows he's an assassin. And so he struggles balancing those things. I really liked this book. Again, this is I'm pretty sure it's the second time I'd read it. We have the other two books. I have read the second one, which is Shadow's Edge. I never actually finished the third one in the series, which I think I was going to go back and reread the series, which is why I reread this one. But I didn't, and I don't know if I will. I do really like them. The third book just kind of fell off for me. But the first one, really good. The next book I read was Horrid by Katrina Leo. This is a young adult horror fantasy. Horror? Fantasy. A horror fantasy? I can't really remember. I had heard about it from BookTube, so I saw it at my library, picked it up. Don't remember a lot about this one. It is about a girl and her mother who have moved back to their town where her mother grew up, into their family house after something has happened, and they think the house is haunted. I can't remember. I really liked it. I just don't remember it. I love the cover. The cover is gorgeous. So it has to do with flowers and a house. Flowers and a house. She can't go out after dark. Honestly, I can't remember, but I remember that I really, really liked it when I read it. If you don't mind young adult, I suggest you check this one out. The next book I read was What Big Teeth by Rose Sabo. I'm not quite sure how to say her last name. I apologize. This is another young adult book. I found it, basically right next to Horrid in the library, and I had heard about it, so I picked it up. Also, another very cool cover. You are following a girl who has come home from boarding school to live with her family. Then the whole family lives there, like grandparents, pretty sure uncles and aunts, parents. They all live in this big house together. And there is a family secret, a family gift. They're monsters. I can't remember. I think they're monsters. And she has not shown signs of being a monster yet, even though she's a teenager. And so it's kind of her, living with her family who are monsters, and she's not, and dealing with that. I think, if I remember correctly. Again, another book that I really, really enjoyed. I just don't remember very much about it because I've read so many books since then. But I liked this one. I ended up I rated it really high. I read it really quickly. The ending, the last quarter of the book blew me away. Beautiful writing. I remember that, and I really enjoyed this one. The next book I read was Sexed Up by Julia Serrano. This is a nonfiction book about basically the over-sexualization of women in society. That's what it was. I found it on the new release shelf at the library, and it sounded interesting, so I picked it up. Don't remember very much about it, but I remember that I read it and that I liked it. Next was Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. I liked this book. I do not like this book as much as I love The House in the Cerulean Sea. In this book, you are following a lawyer who has passed away. He comes to this tea shop, and no one can see him except the people in this tea shop. It's full of ghosts and real, like, live people. And so he can't pass on, and he doesn't know why. He doesn't understand why he's dead. And something about like a ghoul. I don't remember very much about this one either. I'm sorry. Again, I like this book. It's about like a ghost who won't accept that he's a ghost. Found family, as most T.J. Klune books are. Found family in a tea shop. And then he has to decide, he's coming to grips with the fact that he died and he can't pass on and doesn't know why. So he's trying to figure that out. And he's grumpy because most of these books have some grumpy person. I liked the cast of characters in this one. The ghosts were funny, heartwarming. I did tear up a little bit at this one, but I don't like it as much as I adore The House in the Cerulean Sea. The next book I read was Night Shift by Alex Finlay. This is another thriller that I had been hearing about on BookTube. I saw it at the library, so I picked it up. Almost all of these books except my one reread, were from the library. This is when I was real deep into the library. Anyway, Night Shift. It is set in the 90s, I believe, a video rental store. It's about a serial killer and a girl, boy, a person. I didn't like this book, so that's why I don't remember very much about it. It's about a serial killer and a video store. I think it's dual timelines. Like, you're trying to figure out the serial killer was on the rampage, and then you're in like modern day, obviously, but I think it's like set in the 90s because we don't have video rental stores anymore. And you're trying to figure out who the killer was. Didn't really enjoy it that much. I know a lot of people like this book. It's pretty popular, but it wasn't for me. The next book I read was Echo by Thomas Oldhuvelt. This is the second book that I've tried to read from him. I say tried because I DNF'd this book. I got halfway through, did not care a single thing about it. Didn't care. It is about two young men who are dating. One of them is like a rock climber, adventurer, and he was in this really bad like avalanche rock slide and came back basically different than he was before, as one would after being in an avalanche. He and his boyfriend go back to the mountain, and while they're there, he starts hearing voices, the mountain's calling to him. He starts changing again. Again, don't remember very much about it, did not like it. Way thick, long book. Got halfway through and realized I didn't care how it ended, so I stopped reading it. Next was Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This is another one that I'd been seeing on BookTube and happened to see it at my library, so I picked it up. This is like a space horror. You're following a crew who is out in like this abandoned part of space. They are on the outskirts of space. They find an abandoned ship. It's basically like the Titanic in space. So a big ship. And it's been missing. No. They find this abandoned ship. They know that if they get to it before they report it, then they can have like whatever treasures on board. So they go onto the ship and find devastation. Lots of like dead bodies. Things are weird on the ship. And so they're trying to like, and then they start changing too. And they're trying to figure out why and like what happened to this ship and the crew and all the guests on the ship. I like this one. You're also following, like, it's dual timeline, so it's someone, the captain of the ship is being interviewed, and so the chapters are like what her version of what happened, and then between chapters it's her interview. I remember that I really liked this book. I don't read a lot of space horror. I don't really read a lot of space books anyway. This one was creepy. It was contained on a ship. I wanted to know what was going to happen, and there were definitely some creepy parts. I know some people don't like this book. It does have like an underlying romance that is kind of like doesn't need to be there. So that's why some people don't like it. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. The next book I read was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This book shocked me because I loved it so much. It is a romance book. You are following Chloe Brown. She has an autoimmune disorder. She has a chronic illness. I can't remember what it is. Arthritis? She has a chronic illness where she's in pain a lot. And she has decided that she needs to get a life. Like, she's tired of following the rules. She's been taken care of by her grandmother, who I believe is like an ex-actress. And so she rents an apartment, a flat, because I'm pretty sure this is in England. She rents in an apartment and does not get along with the superintendent or like the maintenance guy who also lives in the apartment complex. She has this list of things that she wants to do with her life because she's tired of letting her chronic illness rule her life. And they're really crazy things like ride a moped and other, I don't remember. I just remember they were like, not crazy, but like outlandish things that, like daredevil type things, like ride a motorcycle. Not safe things, like to get out of her comfort zone. I'm way over explaining this. I loved this book. I read it in a day. I read over half of it in one sitting. Like, I did not want to go to bed because I wanted to read this book so much. I just adored it. Again, it is a romance. Not usually my genre, but I'd heard about this series and I saw the first one at the library, so I picked it up. I'm so glad I did. I have read the other two in this book series, and I highly recommend them to everyone. I think this is probably my favorite romance series. Or like, honestly, these are some of my favorite romance books that I've ever read. I recommend Talia Hibbert to everyone. She's a fantastic writer. This book was so fun and so sweet, and I just loved it so much. The next book I read was Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel. Again, sorry, don't know how to say her last name. In this book, you are following two cousins. They were raised in a cult and got out when they were younger and separated and then came back together. And one of the cousins is very successful and rich and wants the other one to come help her with something. A weekend getaway, I think. She's kind of like an MLM, which is multi-level marketing scheme person. And gosh, I don't remember. It's about cults and about babies. That's what it is. I think the one cousin has created like this lifelike baby. And the first cousin is like, I don't want children after what we went through in this crazy cult. I don't ever want kids. And the rich cousin is like, come help me sell this baby. Robot, a baby robot, not the baby. Twists and turns. Loved this book. Horror, thriller, mystery. It says a lot about like family relationships and how your childhood can shape you. And I remember I really enjoyed this one. The next book I read was Pearl by Josh Malerman. I saw this at the library. Again, all of these are from the library, so I guess I can stop saying that. I had heard Gabby Reeds talk about it, so I picked it up. This is about a farm with a pig named Pearl who has like psychic abilities, can talk to you, like mind control abilities. Has it's about a pig that talks in your head and he turns evil and he like takes over the farm. But there's kids that are trying to get. It's about an evil pig with psychic abilities. That's what it was. Didn't like this book. A lot of other people did. I didn't. I thought, I don't know, it was kind of boring, honestly, until like it took a while to get into the story. Didn't really care about the story when it started happening. Yeah, overall, not very impressed with this one. The next book I read was Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. Looking at my Goodreads, I gave it a 4-star, but when I think about that book, not a 4-star at all. I get irrationally upset with the twist in this book. I even told my best friend about it. She's like, oh yeah, this book's on my shelf. And I'm like, do you want to know what's going to happen in that book? Because I don't think you should read it because it's... So honestly, I think of it as like a 2-star book. This is a mystery thriller. A girl has gone missing. And some amount of time, 10 years, 5 years later, maybe 10 years later, she shows up again. This girl shows up and this family's like, you're our daughter that's been missing. And so they try to take her in. They take her in and like try to reform their relationships and reconnect. But you're wondering the whole time, is this really the girl that's been missing? There's relationship issues in the family. There's relationship issues with the couple next door. A lot of drama because it's a mystery thriller. The premise sounds great. And again, I was enjoying it, but I really hated the ending of this book. I did not enjoy the twist. Yeah. I don't know why I gave it 4 stars, because if I read it again today, I would not have rated it that at all. The last book that I read in July of 2022 was Ace by Angela Chen. This is a nonfiction book about asexuality and kind of the myths around it. What is asexuality? What is aromanticism? And the author is Ace, I believe. And so she's kind of just talking about society. Asexuality is very unknown. A lot of people don't know that it's like, it has its own flag. It is on the spectrum, the LGBTQIA. A lot of people think A stands for asexual. I think it can stand for something else too. But anyway, this was a fascinating book. Again, I had heard about it on YouTube. I'm pretty sure Katie Colson and I'm pretty sure Gabby Reeds both read it. And so I put it on hold from the library and picked it up. Wonderful book. Fascinating. If you're at all interested in anything like that, then I suggest you check it out. Again, it is a nonfiction book, but it read surprisingly well for a nonfiction book, because some nonfiction books just like preach at you or just like drone on. I didn't feel like that with this one. I really, really enjoyed this one, and I learned more about asexuality and aromanticism. Those are all the books that I read in July of 2022. Lots of library books, lots of books to read. I think I got through so many because some of them were shorter. They were YA, and then I didn't finish Echo. But overall, a fairly good reading month. I enjoyed most of the books that I read. Some of them I wouldn't mind going back and rereading. But now I want to know, have you read any of these books? What did you think? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.